facing China, the Philippines, and U.S. join in biggest military drill yet. When China's foreign minister visited the Philippines last weekend, he had a stern message for President Ferdinand E. Marcos Jr. of the Philippines. It was vital that Manila properly handle issues related to Taiwan and the South China Sea, and follow through on its earlier commitment not to choose sides, he said. On Wednesday, Mr. Marcos turned up at the Philippines' annual military drills with the United States dressed in an Army fatigue jacket and closely inspecting an American rocket launcher. Later, he sat next to the American ambassador as they watched artillery units take out a target ship nearby. It was the first time in a decade that a Philippine president had participated in these joint military exercises, and the message was unambiguous. After years of mostly tolerating China's aggressive campaign of pressing territorial disputes with the Philippines, the Filipino government is again pivoting toward its oldest ally, the United States. This desire to do so comes as relations between the United States and China have fallen to their lowest point in years. Across Asia, governments are increasingly anxious about these tensions, fearing, in particular, a possible Chinese invasion of Taiwan. In Manila, there is heightened concern about what such an attack could mean for the Philippines, whose northernmost inhabited island is just 93 miles away from Taiwan. The sinking of the ship on Wednesday, the first exercise of its kind in the Philippines, was the highlight of this year's joint drills, called Balakatan, or shoulder to shoulder. For 2 weeks, the militaries have trained all over the Philippines, including on the island of Bosco, which faces the Bashi Channel, a waterway separating Taiwan and the Philippines. They represented the biggest gathering since joint exercises started 38 years ago, involving 12,200 soldiers from the United States and 5,400 Filipino troops. The new nature of the joint exercises underscores a shift within the Philippines' defense establishment. For years, the Army saw its main threats as internal. Its soldiers fought a communist insurgency, and later, terrorist groups. But it is now reorienting itself toward a strategy of international defense after Mr. Marcos instructed the military in February not to lose an inch of its territory. In an interview, Lieutenant General Romeo Bronner Jr., the commander of the Philippine Army, said that Russia's attack on Ukraine served as an eye-opener. A lot of people were saying it's impossible that Russia would invade Ukraine, he said. Anything is possible. So we have to prepare for that, any possible threat. The joint exercise was another major step toward security cooperation since the announcement early this year that the Philippines would give the U.S. military access to 4 new military staging sites in the country, 3 of them facing Taiwan and 1 facing the South China Sea. General Bronner said that one of his priorities now is to figure out how to evacuate the 150,000 Filipino workers in Taiwan if war breaks out. Earlier this month, China's ambassador to the Philippines, Huang Shilian, sparked outrage in the Philippines after he said that the government should oppose Taiwan independence rather than stoking the fire by offering the U.S. access to the military bases near the Taiwan Strait if it cared about the Filipino workers in Taiwan. Like several other Southeast Asian nations, the Philippines has been locked in decades-long disputes with China over resource-rich islands and vital fishing areas in the South China Sea. But Beijing's push to occupy the reefs and shoals in the sea has arguably become a more galvanizing issue in the Philippines than anywhere else.